Welcome to Inside Design with Kandrac and Kole, hosted by two nationally published Atlanta interior designers, Joann Kandrac and Kelly Kole. These energetic women are also world travelers, charity givers, and bloggers with a wealth of information to share and stories to tell about the interior design world. Okay, now just a warning, this is going to be fun and not too serious. After all, they still do have an interior design business running at full speed.
Hey everybody, welcome to Inside Design with Kandrac and Kole. We are recording episode 142. This is Joann, and we're talking about everything you need to know about custom window treatments. And we are so happy to have in our studio today Tracie Bresnahan. She's the owner of Custom Creations. She is our window treatment and soft goods fabricator. So we're here to help educate and help you understand the beauty and function of custom window treatments. First, here's some very impressive information about Tracie. She holds a bachelor's degree in apparel engineering and a master's degree in quality assurance technology from Southern Polytech. She worked in the apparel and consumer products industries for 17 years. She opened Custom Creations in 1996, fabricating custom window treatments and accessories. So with her engineering background, she has built a business specializing in one-of-a-kind, challenging design solutions for clients as well as custom-designed upholstered furniture. She collaborates with her husband on some projects, Brian. He has a degree in architectural engineering. He's a huge asset in designing and building custom projects with her for clients, and she's been honored with I don't know. There's a list of probably 10 window coverings awards. She's really pretty amazing. So before we get started, Kelly will tell you about our sponsor.
It's Maxim Lighting this time. We love Maxim Lighting. As you guys know, they are a family-owned company founded by Jacob Sperling, who immigrated to the U.S. and built this global brand as a creative visionary. Known for lighting fixtures that flawlessly mix the latest metals and technology into iconic designs, Maxim Lighting honors traditional, timeless styles while embracing the latest home fashions. Maxim speaks to today's sophisticated designers and consumers who understand good design, quality, originality, and demand quality craftsmanship. And that's why we love them. They are deeply grounded in family as the next generation of Sperling's Naomi, Nathan, Adina, and Dahlia strengthen and expand the capabilities of the brand. The company's family values and gratitude towards its loyal clientele shine through new ideas, new designs, and new services that come from a grounded tradition of customer service and excellence. Check them out, maximlighting.com, especially with High Point coming up. You will definitely want to have them on your agenda if you are a designer.
Wonderful. So this conversation comes up a lot when we're meeting with clients, and custom window treatments versus ready-made, there's a big conversation. So most people are probably familiar with ready-made, and these are prefabricated options that you can get through retailers. They typically only come in a standard width. There are a limited number of fabrics and lengths. They require manual installation that's very challenging for homeowners. They don't fit most windows. They don't normally have lining to make them hang better, and they're really less full. So we decided to bring Tracie in to talk about the custom and why they are our choice and all the great things about them.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me today. I've been hoping to do this for a long, long time. Been working with you guys for so many years. And it's always fun, and we do challenging projects together, and you guys are just always so much fun. So we love talking about what we do, right? Can't ever talk about it enough. So I love talking about this because I think people get down a rabbit hole with ready-made draperies. They think, oh, I want some curtains, I want some draperies. And they go to the store, buy them off the shelf. They're not the right length. They're 3 or 4 inches off the floor, worse than high water pants. They don't cover their windows. So they go to pull one over to close it at night to watch TV or have privacy, and it doesn't close. So they go buy another one and just hang that up there. And then they have 2 that aren't attached. And it's just, you don't know what you don't know. One of my favorite quotes from my dad, by the way. So custom window treatments are exactly what they say. It's like buying the right blouse that fits. It's buying the right pants that fit and hem them to the right length so they're not too short, not too long. So we're covering your window side to side, whether you want privacy or you want light filtration or you want to darken a room. There are a lot of people who really need a completely dark room to sleep at night. So blackout draperies is very popular in master bedrooms or any type of bedroom.
Nurseries.
So Yeah, nurseries especially. So, and then some people like to wake up to natural light. So having that light filtration coming in the morning is important too. So you're fitting the window from side to side so they can open and close properly, and top to bottom too. So there's a lot of detail that goes in on the up front that you guys know that a lot of people don't know. Some people will say, oh, what do I need to do for window treatments, or how much will that cost? And there's more upfront work than there is, even fabrication work. So there's so much detail from where your window trim is, how far is it from your crown mold, will your bracket fit between your frame and your crown mold, and down south we got a lot of trim work and a lot of crown mold. And or even in more sleek modern designs, you don't have a lot of crown mold, but you don't have a lot of wall space either. You got a lot of window. So trying to fit the proper hardware that will carry the correct drapery. Is it too heavy? Do you need multiple brackets? Do you need a bigger rod? How many brackets do you need? It's all the little things that go into it, and most people don't know how to account for that when they go to the store.
Right.
And I'll buy 4 packs of rings, and you get home and you don't have enough.
Right.
So when you do custom window treatments, we plan the exact width, the exact length, how many rings you need, how many brackets you need. We don't want it to fall off the wall ever. We want it to function easily. We want you to be able to reach it. We want you to be able to open it easy, close it easy. A lot of details.
Well, I think that engineering background makes you so valuable, because I don't think most fabricators have that.
For sure. Yeah, that makes you special, girl.
Thanks.
And we'll be in a house sometimes, and this window is like really jacked up, and we're like, oh, Tracie will figure it out.
Yeah. Don't sweat it, because for years we did all the measuring ourselves, and I had a window treatment fabricator in my early days who taught me a lot. So for, Joann, the first 10 years, I did all the measuring and everything. And
well, I think I'm
so happy to have Tracie do it all.
A lot of designers are very intimidated because it is very technical.
Yes. And it's kind of like, and this is how I got to be connected with you guys, is because you knew how to measure and you knew how to plan for most of that. And some designers do, and some designers don't, and some designers do, but they don't want to. And some enjoy it. So it's like having all of your vendors and your subcontractors. You need time to do what you're the best at, which is design. And your flooring guy needs to do his flooring, and he needs to know the details about that. You not necessarily so much. Same thing with your lighting and all of your vendors. So it's information you can let go of, so you can put more towards your design time and what you do best.
Well, I think if a homeowner isn't working with the designer, there is no way. I mean, that's really the only way to really get custom window treatments is to work through a designer.
Yeah, it's really hard, because you got to have that. Like, I'm not a designer, and I'll say that anytime anybody calls me, will you help me plan window treatments? I will not pick out your fabric. I will not pick out your color. I will just make it happen. You need a designer. So yeah, you need somebody who's pulling the room together, picking the right fabric for the right project. I mean, how many times have we talked about, oh, that's the wrong fabric, let's go back and pick something different. We need a sheer. We need this. We need something heavier, something lighter. And
that's the other thing with ready-mades. Like I said, like, your fabric options are very minimal.
Very minimal.
Very minimal.
And the linings. I mean, there's a lot in lining and inner lining that a lot of people don't know about. The layers that go behind your main fabric can really make or break what you're doing. So when you're investing in this, you want to invest correctly, so that you're not doing it over and wasting your money. I mean, it is an investment, but it's like putting good money towards something good and investing in something that's going to last a very long time. I had a client who had her window treatments for 14 years.
Oh, they should be able to last that long, sure.
She literally was just changing the colors in her living room. The rod was still beautiful. It was a beautiful iron rod. We did new panels. We kept the hardware, which is an investment. It's like furniture.
Yeah. Speaking of hardware, so there's so many different kinds out there. I think what we're doing the most of are called French rods. They're a wrought iron kind of rod. Talk a little bit about like hardware and the differences and why custom makes a difference.
Hardware is so important. It's a combo. But if you were going to pick the most important thing, you got to start with hardware, because it's hanging on the wall and you want it to stay. But there's so many retail versions that are easy in certain places. I mean, granted, it was great when I was doing my daughter's dorm room. So, because that was temporary. But telescoping rods and adjustable rods where one's inside of the other, and it creates a little ledge where they come together, and you're trying to function your draperies back and forth. That ring doesn't go over that intersection very well.
Yeah.
And a lot of off-the-shelf retail product is telescoping and adjustable so they can reach more people. You can
you'll
fit
see
a
it.
window.
You go 28 to 48.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Or you can go to 108 and put this extra rod in. So you have two intersections coming together. And it's a nightmare. And we had a client one time who, going into it, he had bought his hardware from one of the nicer retailers, like Pottery Barn, Restoration Hardware, all great places. But it's the application.
Yeah.
So he put all this adjustable hardware around his whole entire condo. And
Oh,
I
boy.
said, I think you're going to regret it. And opening and closing the draperies was very important. It's like living in a fishbowl, right? So I think you're going to need custom rods so you can function. You can barely reach the wand, so forth and so on. So we put them all up, all custom drapery on the retail hardware, and he hated it.
Of course.
So he took it
And they were
all
probably
down.
too heavy.
Oh, too heavy.
Yep.
The wife couldn't function them because
And
she
they
was
probably
shorter.
weren't that cheap either. I mean, if you're going
No,
to
it wasn't
invest, you
cheap.
might as well just go, take it a step
Spend a little
further.
extra.
So we took it all down, ordered custom hardware, put it all back up.
Oh,
so
my
it's
gosh.
the whole, people sometimes have the idea that maybe I can't afford a designer, or maybe I can't afford custom window treatments. But you can if you sort of do it right the first time, and make that investment, and you have them for a long time.
And we do have, some hesitation with clients sometimes, when they see the cost.
Absolutely.
But it is, like you said, like a piece of furniture that's going to last
Right.
forever. And it doesn't have to be in every single room if that's not in your budget. But, for example, we just had a client who had purchased a second home, and the house had some ready-mades up on the windows. And they were kind of just a gauzy white, totally hanging on the floor, the reverse of high water pants.
Yeah.
They had a solid 5 to 6 inches. And I'm thinking,
wow.
oh my
Puddling.
God, the dust, the dog hair, the dirt, I can't even. And it just kind of like, bleh, like it wasn't
Right.
lined. But they thought they were fine. They're like, well, it's something. I'm like,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
I'd rather have nothing than something
Sometimes.
poor, So maybe could we just maybe move those upstairs and do some custom downstairs?
That's
And, that's a situation where for clients, we might not do panels because panels suck up a lot of fabric and a lot of cost.
Yep.
So maybe we'll do some Roman shades or some cornice boards, and so less fabric,
Break it up a little bit.
bit less, little bit less labor, get the cost down so you still get some fabric feeling in there. So talk about like all the different. What do you make the most in your workroom?
So probably draperies the most, but we also, as our workroom, we make a ton of Roman shades, and we've actually make Roman shades for other people who don't want to make Roman shades because there's a lot of safety compliance regulations associated with functional Roman shades,
The strings.
which are also associated with box goods you get at Home Depot, Target, all of your blind shade shutters, anything that would have a cord. So the cord safety is, and there's a lot of restrictions for Roman shades and custom window treatments for cords. So a lot of people don't like that. So we kind of embraced it, and we do it, we follow it, and we like, because there's a lot of demand for Roman shades. They are less fabric, they're a little more labor, but
You can make them so pretty.
they're
You can
clean.
band,
so pretty.
You can band them and make them really interesting.
You can, and you can use a really expensive fabric on a Roman shade if you want to, because you don't need that much of it. And so they're great at stationary Roman shades, which you guys do a lot of as a sort of a topper. But so those are our two go-to items for sure. We do some very simple valances still, and then cornice boards. We'd love to do cornice
Are
boards.
you doing a lot of motorization too with the
Lot of
traverse rods?
A lot of motorization in a lot of areas, and we're talking custom window treatments today. And you mentioned layers, Kelly. Is when you have some shades that you
Yes.
guys do a lot of, that maybe you're putting the shades in one room, and stationary side panels to really frame out that window is a great combo. And we do a lot of that, combining those.
I
Yes.
feel like windows that don't have anything on them feel so cold.
So
and,
cold.
And they just make a room feel so unfinished. I think when you have beautiful furnishings and beautiful lighting, and then the windows are just like, there's just that glass.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there are some people who, I love my windows, I love my view.
A lot of people say that.
I don't want to cover them up. Never mind the investment. But they don't realize it until they get them. Like, you don't know it till you have it. It finishes off the whole room. It makes the room more cozy. There's less echo. it's like, putting the jewelry on with the gown, or it just really finishes a room off and makes things very homey.
And there's many instances where the view is very, very important. And so we just plan accordingly.
Yes.
Panels can sit completely off the window and only function at night, or we can do shears that are completely just let all the beautiful natural light in. But that's a designer's touch to know.
It is.
To hear you loud and clear of what you want for your lifestyle, and then plan accordingly.
And
with the window treatments.
Lifestyle's where it all starts. So that's where all the detailed questions start, is how do you use this room? What is your life every day like in this room? And sometimes the window treatments will actually accentuate the view and make the view more amazing.
It frames
you're
it.
framing it out. Yeah. So all those questions are so important every time we work on a project, is where are we stacking the panels? Where do we have room to stack the panels? And if something's taking up too much of a view, then sometimes we revert to another style.
Well, Tracie just did at my house. So in our family room, for the longest time, we didn't have a TV in there. And then a couple years ago, we put one in there, and I had panels, but they weren't functional. And so when you turn on that TV, which was facing the outside, it was a total glare during the day. So I went ahead and had her make functional with the wands, and I just sent her a picture of it because it's very cozy, and there's no glare on the TV. So there's a functional, but they look beautiful too.
Yeah, and when we open yours, they stack back, and that's in the details, like what type of pleat you use and things like that can make a difference in how tight your stack is. So when you open those up, you still have a lot of your bay window, and you see your beautiful backyard and the trees, and when you take the blinds off and the shutters off, you see what's outside, which a lot of people are very afraid of.
A lot of times it's the deck with the grill.
Yeah, it is. And, so sometimes opening up the windows really is like, oh, I have a beautiful view from inside and out.
Yeah. So you have the wand, which is just a simple, we usually do white or acrylic.
You
and
see
it
them
hooks,
in hotel. Yeah,
it hooks to
rooms.
the last ring. And so you grab instead of touching the fabric, you grab the wand and pull your panels around. But we also have traverse rods that have an easy cord system or motorized.
Yeah,
and I don't think people really realize, all that you can do with draperies.
Yes, motorization. I got off topic there. Motorization is huge, and people, once they have it one time, you will love it. You will want it. What else can I motorize?
Yes.
It's like having a remote control, because it's convenient, but it's not only convenient. There's so many situations, and I did this personally to get to know my motorization, is very intense sun on the back side of my house.
Yes.
So, it can fade furniture. You can't see the TV.
It fades hardwoods.
It makes the house so very hot. So we layered up draperies and motorized solar shades.
Okay.
So they really hold back the heat. They protect the furniture. We can still see that we have trees outside, so it's still beautiful, but I can program them. So they're up in the morning at 6 a.m. when I walk through, or 7 a.m. or whenever, so my house is not closed up. But I have them programmed to come down at 2 p.m. so
when
my
the
house
sun's
is
beating in.
significantly cooler when I get home. So there's so much functionality and convenience. Some window treatments are too high to reach, and you have to motorize them if you're going to open and close them. Some are just so big that motorization is a much better offering. And sometimes convenience, that window over the tub in the bathroom.
Yes.
To crawl into the tub and open the room and shade. So motorization is huge, and it's got so many pluses about it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of what you don't know what you don't know.
That's it.
I mean, the average Joe, when we go into, we're speaking with a client and we're talking about kind of the different options, they don't even know what Roman shades are. They don't even know what corner sports are.
Right.
So we have to show pictures and kind of explain, all the options.
And I'll tell you, I feel like whenever we go to, in Atlanta, we're really lucky. We have a lot of show houses here. But when you go to show houses is where you really get to see the different kinds of window treatments. Or even, I'm sure on Pinterest or House, but, what you can do with trimmings, putting something like a leading edge. People don't usually know what that is. But if you come into if you've got a panel, you bring that trim to the inside. It's just a great way of having a neutral panel, but then bringing a trimming with
detail.
color and texture, and really can make them so beautiful.
And that's a way to, let's just say, we do this all the time, where we'll choose a linen, just a simple, like a linen cotton poly or mix. 100% linen, our installer hates us for when we do.
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm always asking Chris, what what's your favorite hardware or what fabric, you know, or you'll say that fabric was great to work with, or Kelly, do not order that fabric ever again. So we're always talking about these things, but we'll get an inexpensive, solid, nice hand linen. Maybe it's, you know, trade cost is, you know, $19 a yard or $20 a yard or something like that. And then put a really cool, big fat 6-inch wide trim on that leading edge, and the leading edge is the very end of the panel, so you see it loud and clear, and then it sits out on an extra ring so you can see we've done color blocking many times where we kind of take the panel and divide it into equal threes. So it maybe the panel, it'll go green at the top, cream in the middle, green at the bottom.
Right.
And maybe you have a little bit of trim on the seam line. So there's all kinds of things that we can do with panels to make them super interesting, but not necessarily really super expensive.
No, you can run the gamut. You can go full on couture. You can have beautiful, expensive velvets, or you can combine a couture velvet at the top, color block it with an less expensive fabric at the bottom, and put a beautiful trim in between. We've done those a couple of times.
Yes.
And just make them so unique for the homeowner and special without.
And I think in regards to like how you're hanging them, you know, there's grommets, which really not a fan of. Maybe that for outdoors.
Grommets are just the rings up at the top.
The big round.
The ring is in the
metal
fabric.
Circle.
It's a metal circle. Yep.
Yep. And then there's also the rings that go onto the pleat.
Yeah.
With a drapery pin.
Drapery pins.
And then I don't think you're doing, what do you call when they're just right attached to the rod anymore?
The tab.
Rod pocket?
Tab back.
Rod pocket.
Or tabs. They're so easy. They're hard to close, open and close.
A lot of your ready-mades, there's something to be aware of, is a lot of the ready-mades are a tab back. So they're flat on the front. They're less labor.
Yeah.
And there's a little tab on the back or a little funky header they've attached to the back, and your rod goes through it. Very difficult to function. It just makes them.
If you were to put
buy.
a ready-made next to a custom side by side, it is so obvious, and you really get what you pay for. I think it's so worth the investment.
You really do. I mean, ready-mades are all machined up around all the edges, and so the edges kind of curl up, and you know, really thin fabrics, and you know, if you're going to invest in it, you want it to feel good and look good. And
I think they have their place, like you said earlier, dorm rooms.
Absolutely.
Kids' rooms, you know, not to be discounted. And I think, you know, we've selected many Pottery Barn ones because Pottery Barn ones are lined, and they have some nice linen options, and they have multiple lengths. You know, a lot of the retailers, they only will come in, say, 85 inches long or 90 inches long, and you need, you know, at least 100 or something like that. And they have multiple lengths. So there is a place for them. But in our level of interior design, we definitely
in your main spaces
prefer
do custom.
not to.
Yeah, I was going to say it when you guys come in and do someone's house, you put these beautiful custom window treatments in their main spaces, but then maybe they're like, you know what, let's add this guest bedroom upstairs and maybe my child's room. Well, then maybe you can get some of the more trade account ready-mades, and we can cut the tops off and pleat them and make them look we kind of customize a ready-made, and then they can have their whole house done. So sometimes it's a good combo, especially
we've done that with shower curtains.
Yes,
where we'll get a ready-made shower curtain, and then we'll add a solid 2 feet, 24 inches of fabric to the bottom to make it so that we can raise it higher. And then sometimes you've pleated them for us. And they just and line them, actually.
Yes.
So we just make them.
That's a great tip, because 9 times out of 10, you've walked into a bathroom and you see that shower curtain is about 3 inches above the above the floor.
Right.
So, and when you go into like a show house, so when you see when it's done well, the rod comes up very high and it hits the floor, and it's so much prettier. That's the other thing we didn't talk about, is how raising your rods higher.
Oh, yes, please. Let's touch on that really quick.
Please, everybody, hear us now.
Please.
Raise your rods.
I can't sleep at night when the drapery is below the window frame and the rod's going right across at the window frame or even below. I have nightmares about it.
Do not mount your hardware to your trim.
Please.
Do not do it.
No, let's go up at least 4 or 5 inches if
at
you can.
least.
If you have a lot of negative space, like 15 to 20 inches, you go halfway. It's beautiful. If you like really tall stuff, you can go all the way. Let's keep them off the frame.
It just gives
Unless that's all you have.
Feeling of a bigger room.
That's
it really
right.
does.
That's right.
Yeah. Good tips. So much to talk about, but I think the bottom line is if you are wanting to make an investment in window treatments, absolutely contact a designer in your area. And most designers that are, legit have a very close relationship with their workroom.
Absolutely.
And can really make anything for you. So even the most complicated windows that are crunched up against a wall, windows that are super high, windows that have huge palladiums, don't worry, we can handle it.
Yeah,
But
it can
call
be
the right
done.
people. Yep, it can be done.
And for the designers who are new to window treatments or not really wanting to step into that world, get in touch with a local workroom and form a relationship. They will help you walk through it, and you'll get there together, and that's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how I learned everything. It's
you're missing a whole side of the business that's important to your client, and it's a good, profitable business.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Well,
do we want to throw in the installation? I don't know how much time we have.
Yes.
But let me
Go for
just
it.
say, if you're going to do when you do custom window treatments, you got to have a good installer.
Yes.
And we know we love our installer. And someone said, what would you do without Chris? And I said, I don't know, close the door.
yeah.
So,
we that's a panic situation.
yeah. So art, draperies, toilet paper holders, anything that gets hung, you must have a good installer because you don't want it ever coming down. Safety is important in the correct way. He just knows how to.
It has to be straight.
Yeah, he knows what each fabric's going to do. I mean, how many times have he and I've had the conversation? Okay, do we think that one's going to drop a quarter or 3/8 or 3/4 of an inch when we hang it up? And they picked that linen. It's gonna drop an inch.
When we steam it, it's gonna. Yeah.
It's going to the floor.
Yep.
So it's super important.
And that's the other thing.
There's a lot of details.
Steaming them so that they lay right.
Oh,
they do all that.
Steaming them, dressing them out. You don't just hang them up and let them go. There's a lot of details involved in the installation, so super important.
There's been many times when I've sent window treatments that you've made to like my family in New York, and they don't have a good installer on the other end, and I'm just heartbroken because there's little things that I know Chris could fix if he was there that their installer can't handle. So like, an uneven floor, and so everything has to be adjusted ever so slightly, or a Roman shade is just maybe it's playing tricks. There's a wonky wrinkle that won't come out, and a bend in the fabric that he's got all these pins in these little tricks of how to bend fabric and make it lay right, and not every installer has that.
And if you have an installer who's hanging your art and you're just now getting into window treatments, you don't necessarily have to go find another installer. If you have a good relationship with them. And I'm saying this because I've started working with one in Florida who just installed shades for me, like solar shades, and he's wanting to get into soft treatments with his designers in Florida. And so I was like, connect them with your workroom, and have your workroom come to the install. Have your workroom talk to the installer and let them do it together and learn from each other and, get there together.
Yeah, because there's many a time when you're on an install too, and I love that because
there's coordination.
I can just walk away. I'm like, I am not worrying about windows today. I'm going to go worry about the furniture and other things.
And that's the other thing. With Tracie, it's like we let her go. I mean, it's just like one of those things where you hand it off and you don't worry about it. It's not on your mind anymore, and that's a lot. Peace of mind for sure.
Building relationships,
and it just makes our projects so much more beautiful. When I think about some of the photography we've had, and the window treatments are just the icing on the cake.
They look done.
Yeah,
they look done. Yes,
and I would say to people, go ahead and look for those inspiration photos and take those pictures and take them to the workroom and say, "Can you do this for me?"
Oh, absolutely. That's where it all starts.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well, are we ready for our quotes, because we have good ones today.
Yeah. Well, you can do the funny quote because I know this is you.
So me. All right. Ready, everybody? Sorry I didn't answer. I was on TikTok watching someone restock their fridge and put things in clear containers for the last 2 hours. My bad.
Because we were watching you.
Well, just, don't get me near Home Edit or any of those programs. I will be at the Container Store in 5 minutes flat redoing everything in my house. I'm obsessed.
I know. I'm so impressed. My daughter did her whole fridge home. She's
right
to the Home Edit now too.
Mine's obsessed with that as well. She's a teacher too, so it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So this serious quote, we had a quick talk about our installer, but this quote is dedicated to our team of installers at Hangman Installations.
Mostly because your installer should always smell good.
Yes. So our installer, Chris, the main dude, he is really into luxury colognes. I don't know if they're called luxury colognes, high-end colognes. And it's become kind of a hobby. So him and the guys always have some kind of very expensive cologne on, and they smell really good. So he sometimes will bring a couple of them for me to try. I ended up buying one for my husband. So funny story is I was somewhere and a guy walked past me and he smelled so good. And I said, "Can I ask what you're wearing?" And he said, "Oh, it's Tom Ford Fabulous." It's like, I wonder if Chris knows about that. So I sent him a text. I'm like, "Do you know about Tom Ford Fabulous?" "Oh, yeah, I've got this, I got this one, I got that one." So, of course, he knew them all. So when I saw this quote, I'm like, all right, we've got to dedicate this to the team. So it's Tom Ford's 5 things every man should have. 1, a sense of humor. 2, tweezers.
Hallelujah.
3, and here's the good one, a good cologne that becomes a signature. The perfect pair of dark denim jeans. And I love this one. Perfect teeth. If you don't have them, save up and have them fixed.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Oh,
That's so funny.
It's a sweaty job, so it's always nice when your hangmen smell good.
That's right. That's right.
That's what they're known for these days.
Well, thanks to Maxim Lighting for sponsoring this podcast and making our projects look so pretty. And thanks for listening. We would really appreciate if you guys would follow us, share us, review us, and let your friends know to listen.
And thanks, Tracie, for joining us and enlightening everybody and all this great information.
It's fun to have you in the studio.
It's super fun since I did the draperies in here.
Yes.
It's fun to be a client.
Aren't they
in here.
fabulous?
It's so fun. I love talking about what we do.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Join Joann and Kelly weekly for a lively conversation about trends, travels to industry events, current design projects, the good, the bad, and the ugly, do's and don'ts, product recommendations, and more. Be sure to follow the fun on Facebook. They're on Instagram at Kandrac Kole, and of course, you've got to visit them online at kandrac-kole.com for more information.